Okay, Wobble, we've made it through the round of 32, but let's be careful though. We've got the LEGO Wars trophy, now we don't want any funny business. You know, we don't want anybody to suddenly turn up and be like, ho ho ho! Travellers, thanks for bringing the LEGO Wars trophy, I'll be taking that. And then we have to chase them to the end of the earth. We just don't want to, oh shit!
Ho ho ho! Travellers, thanks for bringing the LEGO Wars trophy, I'll be taking that. Ho ho ho! Ho ho ho!
Ho ho ho! Ho ho ho!
See? Who's this? Iron Mingo, is that you? Welcome back to LEGO Wars in the round of 16 for Series 6. Last time out we gave the judges a real workout as 3/4 of the fights ended up going the full distance. Our surviving machines now sit one fight away from the grand final with everything to play for, so let's remind ourselves of who's still in the running.
First, from Carrollton, Texas, seeded number 1 and reigning champions, Slammo.
Our defending champs continues the trend its fellow Danby build Foxix started against Whitehole and looked promising for back-to-back grand final appearances.
From Manchester, Agrawobber.
The Third Wars champs took a beating from Sweepy and arguably the best fight of the round and needs to ensure its drive is fixed to have a chance of progressing.
From Bristol, Bob.
The sophomore Hammer made quick work of Chompromp in the previous round but has a difficult task in every sense of the word against Panic later on.
From Brighton, Bricker Brother.
Such has been Bricker's horrible bracket form in recent years. Their win over Kraken was their first since Series 2 and this rejuvenated run doesn't show any signs of stopping.
From Adelaide, Australia and seeded number 11, Chompy.
The Aussie grabber has been playing fast and loose with the pit and will need to be mindful of how they departed at this stage last series.
From Devon, Kronsblow.
Kront has been in inspired form this series, controlling the pace of their battles to match their best result from the Third Wars, so anything extra is a bonus.
From Dublin and seeded number 18, Dietor.
The farewell tour continues for the Polka Dot Peril after a surprise win over Orby, but they've never made a grand final and will have to be on their best form to finally break that duck.
From Bristol, Grab Crab.
The last rookies standing in the bracket were efficient in their bout against Muffin, tossing them aside in 20 seconds as they aim to replicate Kraken in making the grand final on debut.
From Bristol, Iron Mingo.
Mingo's wide reputation is gaining momentum after Clod failed to take them down, but they haven't shown much potency from that overhead weapon.
From Cowes, Isle of Wight and seeded number 7, Megalodon.
The Drumbot again showed its potential this series in defeating their stablemates and have revenge in their sights for the upcoming round.
From Cabral and seeded number 21, Panic Attack.
After a couple years in the doldrums, Panic is enjoying a renaissance this series with its first bracket win since the Third Wars and could be well placed to return to the finals.
From South Shields, Polymorph.
After falling into victory in the heats, Polymorph probably started showing what it could do as it skinned the seeded frog and has the vert setup ready to outreach its next opponent.
From Alcatraz, California, Project Shadow.
The veterans have done one better than their result last series, but really need to get their spinner issues resolved lest they fall to Orby's fate.
From Cambridge, Massachusetts, and seeded number 17, Ripperoni.
The Pizza Verts seem to be on the up after scalping Cowtles in the last round, and spinner permitting, they're looking good to keep their challenge going.
From Mountain View, California, and seeded number 12, Tantrum.
Our ex-champs just about edged a win over their rivals Duck, but with potentially less solid opponents in their corner of the bracket, they could well be on course for a second title.
From Mountain View, California, and seeded number 28, the Twins.
The multibot were too much for Antithesis last time out, but they could do with a tad less friendly fire to keep those repairs to a minimum. We'll begin the action tonight with our top-ranked machine Agrawobber aiming for their first Grand Final appearance at Series 3, but our star rookies Grab Crab stand in their way, so we're in for a treat to start the action.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Off we go for the round of 16 of LEGO Wars Series 6. At this point, we're going to see every single robot remaining in the competition left in tonight's episode. We have Agrawobber, the 1 seed, taking on Grab Crab, the 17. We saw Agrawobber defeating Sweepy in the previous round. Took a lot of damage from Sweepy, but we're able to get them down the pit. And meanwhile, Grab Crab, they were able to turn over Muffin, the 16 seed in the previous round. They also turned over the 1 seed, Agrawobber. In terms of the bracket rankings, of course, these two both unseeded for the main competition of LEGO Wars this time around. Grab Crab are rookies, so they'll be hoping to try and gain another big scalp to their name. Agrawobber, of course, former LEGO Wars champions back in LEGO Wars Series 3, but on this occasion they're under pressure here from the rookies Grab Crab, and another good lift there from Grab Crab in underneath Agrawobber. So far you'd have to say Grab Crab in the ascendancy against their vastly more experienced opponents. Agrawobber gets away to the centre of the arena. Of course, they are the number 1 ranked robot for the bracket. They are the favourites to go win the whole competition if the selection committee are to be believed. Grab Crab already overperforming technically, judging by their rankings. Down goes the pit button, and Agrawobber has speared itself to the pit button. Can Grab Crab come in and capitalise it? Agrawobber trying to get away from the pit button. Grab Crab respectfully standing off. Will they live to regret that? They try and get Agrawobber down the pit. They're pushing them towards the pit. Agrawobber, just get away in the nick of time there. Like I say, we're going to see every robot remaining left in the competition in tonight's episode. This is just the first of 8 fights we're going to see today. Grab Crab, I would certainly say, in the ascendancy thus far. Agrawobber need to do something to turn the tide of the fight, but at the moment I can't really see it. The rookies Grab Crab here certainly looking the more impressive of the two, and another good lift from Grab Crab. Up and under goes the big lifter on Agrawobber. Agrawobber pinned against the arena sidewall, and another good lift there from Grab Crab. Grab Crab in the ascendancy. And so far, these two cancelling each other out, but definitely Grab Crab in the ascendancy between the two. Agrawobber are bringing that hammer into play over and over again, but to little avail, whereas that lifter on Grab Crab, so efficient and so effective at pulling Agrawobber off the arena floor and into the air. I wonder how much damage there was. Legacy damage, I suppose you could call it, from the fight against Sweepy as well for Agrawobber a couple of weeks ago. We saw how damaged they were. They had the entire front end almost ripped away and destroyed, but they were able to recover quite well. And now Grab Crab, are they suffering from thermal cutout? Maybe a little bit there. Agrawobber responds by pushing Grab Crab back towards the pit. They've been on the receiving end of quite a lot of the punishment thus far, Agrawobber, but they are starting to get a foothold in the fight now. And Grab Crab towards the end of this fight are slowing down and suffering a little bit. Maybe with thermal cutout, maybe with a little bit of pressure as well. We're going to get a time between these two. Oh, not again, not like last week. I can't take another 6 judges' decisions. Surely not, but Agrawobber and Grab Crab are going to get a time.
6.
The judges will have to decide. That is a very tough and difficult encounter to decipher. I do not want to be a judge for that one. Two opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of experience remaining in the round of 16. Grab Crab and Agrawobber putting on a decent show of a control fight in this matchup. I feel like in the early stages, certainly Grab Crab were the ones in the ascendancy, and very respectful and good sportsmanship that they didn't just shove Agrawobber down the pit when they were stuck on the pit button. Will they live to regret that with the judges' decision looming? Agrawobber finishing much the stronger with thermal cutout issues plaguing Grab Crab towards the end.
And the winner by split decision is Grab Crab. Perhaps some controversy in the arena as Agrawobber fails to claw back victory in the dying seconds. Let's see if there'll be another tight decision in our second fight tonight between the twins and Project Shadow.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for fight number 2 of the night. The 6 versus 19 match. Project Shadow the 6, the 19 being the twins. Last time around, they made it to the round of 32, and they were eliminated there by Pegasus. This time around, they are made it one step further, so congratulations to the twins. This is your best ever run in LEGO Wars for Bronkel and Crotto. Project Shadow, they have been further than this before. Made it to the round of 32 last time round as well. They were defeated there by Kelsey Hammer, if you remember that robot. Now taking on the Twins for a place in the round of 8. A quarter-final berth at play here for Project Shadow and the Twins. We have Broncle stuck by the pit button. Crotto coming round the back of Project Shadow, pinning the two robots against the pit button. Doesn't get away clearly there. Project Shadow now trying to push Crotto, is it? No, Broncle. I'll get them confused all day long, don't you worry. Towards the pit button and towards the gaping wall that is the pit. They're trying to manoeuvre themselves away from the pit. That's good driving, but it's not ideal for the pink twin there. But they've managed to get away with some about a million point turn. You know the scene from Austin Powers where he's stuck in the corridor? That is what Crotto just had to do. Sorry, Broncle just had to do. At some point I'll get the names right. And they've managed to achieve it, but they've now caught themselves between Project Shadow and the pit has Broncle, and slowly, inexorably pushing towards the pit. Or are they trying to back away Project Shadow? They can't quite get that pink twin down the pit, can they? They are caught in a tug of war between the two. Crotto comes in again with a good slam on Project Shadow. Project Shadow caught by the screws here, and the Twins pinning Project Shadow into the screws as well. At the moment, who's on top here? It's difficult to say. Project Shadow, I feel fortunate to be here. I didn't think they did enough to beat Monsoon personally, but I'm not a judge. So that is why they are still here. Project Shadow, that weapon not really seen the maximum effectiveness of that weapon thus far. The Twins trying their best to push Project Shadow towards the pit. Doesn't get it again though. Project Shadow, at the moment I'd say maybe slightly behind. Once again here, the Twins do very well at kind of keeping Project Shadow honest. And Project Shadow being boxed back once again. The Twins here, I think, putting on a decent show. What can Project Shadow do to turn the tide of the fight? They need to do something, in my opinion. Crotto stands off the yellow, and Bronco. Oh, I thought Project Shadow were going to go for the big heave-ho there. Maybe they still can. I think Bronco is the only twin happily still running. Crotto at the moment in the corner, not really getting out of its own circumference, and that could cost the Twins here. Should it go to the judges, which it is now going to go to the judges. We get a time between Project Shadow and the Twins. I wonder if yellow conking out at the end is going to make the difference here. Another very close and intense match between these two, or technically three robots if you like. I feel like the Twins were the ones in the ascendancy for most of the fight. They were able to box Project Shadow in more often than not, and the amazing driving of Broncle to get away from the arena wall and the pit at some point during the fight was great stuff to see. The Austin Powers meme lives on in some style, but at the end there, look, yellow disabled. Is that going to cost them?
And the winner by unanimous decision is Project Shadow. Crotto falters in the corner, and Broncle wasn't looking much healthier by the end of that bout as Project Shadow becomes the second machine in the grand final. Now we have a rematch on our hands from the heats between Kronsplo and Megalodon.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Fight number 3 sees the 31 versus 18 matchup. Megalodon, the 31, of course, making their way here via the play-ins, and of course beating Shatterstar, who were the rank 2, taking on Kronsplo, who beat the 15 ranked robot Luchador. And Kronsplo, I have to say, were very impressive in the last round, maybe underrated by some. The drive power on this machine has seriously taken a step up. I don't know whether it's a new battery pack or what's happened, but they were not performing this well in the heats. They were a late stand-in. They've done really, really well this time around, and Kronsplo here have a great opportunity to try and, make some progress through the field. Megalodon, meanwhile, I mean, they've been in top form as well. They are, seeded 7 after making the top 8 last time around. A win here, and they make the same position they did last time too. So they'll surely be the ones. I don't know. They're on the lower right robot, but there's severe damage there. Look to the top of Kronsplo. The top armor has been ripped away, but has Kronsplo's face broken Megalodon's fist? No. The weapon back up to speed again on Megalodon. Coming back on the attack again, and more damage sustained by Kronsplo. The front end now being peeled away, and Megalodon is racking up the points, although the weapon has now stopped once again. I don't know how fragile is that drum spinner on Megalodon? Has it now stopped once more? Kronsplo trying to use the 4-bar, in underneath it goes. Megalodon No, the weapon is still working. I thought for a second it had broken, but it is still functional at the moment, although it's not happy, is it? In fact, it's ingested. So if Crossblow has a great push from Crossblow, and Megalodon on the very lip of the pit. Can Megalodon get away? There was seeded 7 for the main LEGO Wars competition. They were ranked 31 for the bracket by virtue of the fact they had to come through the play-ins. But now, I thought for a second Crossblow had Megalodon beaten there, but Megalodon gets away in the nick of time, and they are still spinning and they're still operating in a happy fashion. They've also managed to get rid of that discarded bit of Crossblow that was jamming up their weapon, so that's good for Megalodon fans around the world. But Crossblow here giving a really good account of themselves. They were unseeded and unfancied coming into this series, but they've really proven their worth this time around. A lot more hyperactive and energetic than it has been for quite some time, and Crossblow here is putting on a vintage performance. Good control once again, a good lift up from the 4-bar lifter, the only remaining 4-bar lifter in LEGO Wars, now that Lancerfrog has been sadly defeated. Crossblow once again in underneath, and up comes the lifter once more, trying their best to get Megalodon off the floor. Didn't quite manage to do so. Crossblow, so far, you'd have to say, in terms of aggression and control, maybe in the Ascendancy, weapon effectiveness, maybe it's Megalodon's, but it's pretty close between the two, and we're going to go to time once again between these two robots for a place in the round of 8. So, who is going through to the next round? Will it be Crossblow or
6.
Megalodon? The judges will have to decide. Another tough matchup to decipher. Again, I would not want to be a judge for this one. I did actually neglect to say as well, this was actually a fight in the heat, which Crossblow won via JD. Well, we've gone to the judges once again here, and it'll be another close fought thing to decide who goes through to the round of 8 this time. A few more, a bit higher stakes on the line, but it was a really good matchup. Crossblow, I feel, was the more aggressive and well-controlled robot, but the weapon effectiveness of Megalodon certainly can't be overlooked. It's just whether the damage sustained by Crossblow is outweighed by all their good work driving around the arena.
And the winner by split decision is Crossblow. It's another inspired display so far in the bracket for the veteran 4-bars. They again vanquish Megalodon to move on to next week's finals. We have had a theme of emotional damage in this bracket, and it looks like it's going to be happening again in our 4th fight as Bop takes on Panic Attack.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
The 5 versus 20 fight is off and underway, and halfway through our round of 16, we see Bop taking on Panic Attack. Bop the 5, Panic Attack the 20. Panic Attack supremely skilled in pitting Mr. Waffle in the previous round. Bop making its way past Chompromp in similar fashion. Bop, of course, built by Craig Croucher, at least the Beetleweight version of Bop built by Craig Croucher. His favourite robot from Robot Wars? Of course, it had to be Panic Attack, didn't it? So heartstrings being tugged all over the arena. Panic Attack, what can they do? Can they run back? Another golden performance here in the golden livery this time around. Bop tries to get side on to Panic Attack, doesn't quite manage to get it entirely there. The forks, well, the front end certainly damaged Panic Attack. Look at that, the front end, I've not seen Panic Attack dismantle like that since it was driven into by the heavyweight Panic Attack, really. Bop, down comes the hammer once again. Good attack. More points scored. Either of the judges had 3 out of 3 JDs tonight. What was the odds on a 4th? Panic Attack manoeuvring to try and hit the pit button. Can they do so? Yes, they can. Down goes the pit. Can they try and guide Bop towards it? Or Bop push them towards the pit. Good driving here by Panic Attack. A little bit eager on the lifting forks there. Didn't quite manage to get them completely underneath the front end of Bop. Now Bop comes circling back again. Face to face go Panic Attack and Bop forcing Panic Attack back towards the arena side wall at the rear of the arena. A little bit of discarded Panic Attack debris underneath Bop. That's now been freed. The forks starting to come apart once again on Panic Attack. The flexible front end that has certainly helped their ground game, but is a little bit more fragile certainly than previous series, and that's been shown once again there. Slowly dismantling themselves. Bop, I would say, currently in the ascendancy, though it is pretty even between the two. It's not a foregone conclusion, although that is more damage. Is it to Panic Attack? No, it's the same damage. Don't worry, Sam. Get a little bit eager. Bop, though, I would say still on top in terms of weapon effectiveness thus far, and control, and maybe even aggression as well. Panic Attack trying their best, but it is a fight that they're currently not winning, isn't it? And Bop at the moment doing a very, very good job of staying aggressive and staying in control of the fight, although they did have a little thermal cutout there, maybe. Bop faces off once again with Panic Attack. Panic Attack definitely the one retreating more often, and in underneath goes Bop once more. The ground game of Bop now superior to that of Panic Attack, and Panic Attack, what can they do to turn the tide of the fight? The former champions, the Series 1 champions, in underneath go Panic Attack, and they've now pinned Bop against the arena sidewall. Can they bring the lifting forks up? They can, and they've now finally got a good, decent attack off on Bop very, very late into this fight. Can they maybe drag them towards the pit? Good control by Panic Attack, and they let Bop go. And Bop was able to wriggle away in the nick of time, and I don't know if that one attack's going to be enough for Panic Attack. We're going to go to time once again between these two. And Panic Attack and Bop will go to the judges. I think Bop, though, has done more than enough. Panic Attack struggled throughout that fight, in my opinion. As far as I can tell from the word activate, Bop was the one in the ascendancy, bringing Hammer Blow after Hammer Blow down onto the former champions. Panic Attack's front end coming apart. They almost got them down the pit as well. Bop was the one in control throughout the fight, in my opinion, pushing Panic Attack around the arena. Panic Attack occasionally got a good nudge off on Bop, but Bop was superior in almost every aspect, and the one lift at the end I don't think is enough for Panic Attack to turn the tide.
And the winner by unanimous decision is Bop. That's 2 champions now that have fallen by the judges as Panic fails to deliver a controlling display against the sophomore Axbot. Above them is our 2 black and red seeds, Dietor and Chompy, fighting next in the arena for the right to face Grab Crab next week.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
The 24 versus 8 match is off and underway. Chompy 2, the 8, Dietor the 24. Dietor, of course, somehow making it past Orby Blade in the previous round when Orby Blade conked out on one side and was stuck, circling in its own circumference, couldn't get away. Chompy 2 beating their opponent's Optimus. Chompy 2 grabs an eye off of Dietor. Certainly the red hot favourites in this match, and Dietor being pulled apart once again. It's eerily similar to the fight they had against Whitehole right at the start of the series, where they were completely blown to bits. Still feeling some after effects of that fight, I'm sure, but Chompy 2 in the ascendancy here almost immediately. What can Dietor do to Chompy 2? That is the question we've got to ask ourselves here. Chompy 2, in my opinion, superior drive power, superior ground game, superior weaponry as well. You have to say at the moment, Dietor trying their best to fight back, but what can they do against Chompy 2 to turn the tide of the fight in their favour? Dietor on their farewell tour as well, much like Shatterstar were last week, saw them eliminated by another Retcon Robotics machine. I know it's not Retcon Robotics anymore, but at the start of the series when this was recorded, it was Retcon Robotics, so that's what we're going with for the rest of the series. Sorry, Jevon. I'll get it right for next series. Dietor forced back again. Chompy 2 grabs down on Dietor, forcing Dietor back into the middle of the arena. More bits and pieces coming off of Dietor. Chompy 2 massively in the ascendancy here. What can Dietor do? They need to try and break off those other 2 forks, I think, and try and maybe tip Chompy 2 over. So far, the drive power and the weapon power of Chompy 2 has proven most effective. Dietor, what can they do? They're trying their best. Stalwarts of LEGO Wars, been here since the very, very beginning, has only once previously made it past the round of 32. Making that a second time this series in their, well, one of their best ever runs in LEGO Wars, but against Chompy 2, fighting an opponent in which, in my opinion, is just vastly superior. Dietor being chased and harassed around the arena, and another good grab there from Chompy 2 round the back now of Dietor. That needs a bit of attention too. Dietor trying to get away, forced towards the screws by Chompy 2. Chompy 2 looking very, very effective. This, of course, for a place in the quarterfinals, and of course our final episode next week against Grab Crab, who of course earlier beat Aggro Wobber. Although Chompy 2, have they now suffered a little bit of thermal cutout? They did, but they're back and running once again. Dietor trying to get away from that corner. They're pinning themselves to the arena sidewall. It's going to get a time between these two, but I think we know who the judges are going to go for here. Chompy 2, I think, vastly superior on the night. Dietor didn't know what hit them. It goes to time and the judges, but I think we know who's going to win this one. Dietor, a brave effort, but I think well beaten by Chompy 2 in the end. We'll go to the judges though. A fond, furry farewell then to stalwarts of LEGO Wars and absolute legends of robot combat, Dietor. I think well beaten here by Chompy 2. Chompy 2 exercising just the engulfing quality that we've seen here from a very, very strong machine, which could end up going all the way, in my opinion. I think it's a dark horse for the title, especially at this stage of the competition. Dietor had no response to their onslaught, and a well-beaten Dietor in the end.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Chompy. It was a valiant display from Dietor, but their career in LEGO Wars ends in the round of 16 as Chompy returns to the grand final for the first time since Series 2. It's been rough going so far for the judges, and looking at our next bout between Tantrum and Bricker, we may end up with a full house of JDs, but you never know, somebody might finally drag a KO out of nowhere, so let's see if we can get the champ through to the final for this time.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Away we go then for the 11 versus 3 fight. The 11 Tantrum, the former LEGO Wars champions back in Series 4. Bricker Brother, the number 3, on a brilliant run of form. Their first bracket win, by the way, last week since LEGO Wars Series 2. So Bricker Brother really rolling back the years in some style this year, as the thermal cutout gremlins of the past really seem to have subsided quite a lot. But this is going to be a real challenge now against the former LEGO Wars champions Tantrum, on an absolute tear this series themselves, doing incredibly well. I believe, actually, this is the only top seed fight of the entire round of 16. Both of these two were the higher ranked robot that won in the previous round. And this is the only one out of all 8 matches tonight where the lower seeds won both of the fights. So no upsets in the previous round for this one. Tantrum goes face to face with Bricker Brother. Bricker Brother hits the pit button. Pit goes down at the second try of asking. Bricker Brother trying to bring that lifter into play. Doesn't quite get it. More damage sustained by Bricker Brother, but Bricker Brother is a brick and is able to take those shots from Tantrum. Tantrum forced towards the arena sidewall and caught by the pit. Gets away now though. Tantrum in underneath Bricker Brother once again. Almost said Bigger Brother then. Who's that? Never heard of them. Bricker Brother reaches the arena centre. Tantrum comes back on the attack again. More damage sustained on Bricker Brother. Bricker Brother in underneath Tantrum. Get that weapon into the lifter. Trying to cause damage to the lifter is Tantrum's big punching mech in the middle. More damage sustained by Bricker Brother. Bits and pieces flying off every time Tantrum comes into contact with Bricker Brother. Bricker Brother now in underneath Tantrum. Can they lever them up? Not quite. The purchase of the weapon, not quite enough there. It's been a brilliant LEGO Wars by Bricker Brother, but I don't know if they can continually hold on after the pasting it's tasting here from Tantrum. Although Tantrum is caught now by the lip of the pit, and Tantrum is being forced back into the pit. Slowly but surely, Bricker Brother, can they get Tantrum into the pit? They're on the very lip of the pit. Tantrum caught on the pit now. They can't get away. And Bricker Brother surely will go through to the quarterfinals, and they do. Tantrum, the former champions, are out. Bricker Brother go through. I think it's fair to say that honour has been restored for Tantrum after the dismal title defence last time round, and a fond farewell to our former LEGO Wars champions, the LEGO Wars Series 4 champions. They were in imperious form in this fight as well. They were knocking bits and pieces off of Bricker Brother every single time the two came into contact, but a rare driving mistake, or maybe a bit of opportunism from Bricker Brother. They got in underneath and forced Tantrum back towards the pits. Bricker Brother go through to fight Project Shadow in the round of 8.
A silly error from the ex-champ sends Tantrum down and out as Bricker joins Chompy in making their second grand final appearance. We are left with just the current champ Slammo and the former international champs Ripperoni as competition winners left in the competition, and the latter is up next against LEGO Wars' equivalent of the 101 Curse in Polymorph.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Off we go then for our penultimate fight of the night. Ripperoni, the number 23, versus Polymorph, the 7. I can't believe either of these two are going to be in the top 8 of LEGO Wars Series 6, but one of them is definitely going to be in the final episode next week. Ripperoni, probably the slight favourites. They, of course, knocked Cow Tools out in the previous round. Polymorph beating Sir Lancer Frog, right, as momentum was building towards the end of the fight. Polymorph did look quite good, but I think Ripperoni in this fight should go down as possibly the favourites, although at the moment, good start from Polymorph. Maybe the slightly more controlled of the two, which says quite a lot, really, because it's really not very controlled. And it's certainly growing in confidence as fights go on, but off comes the wheel of Ripperoni. Is the big wheel as well, and I think they're now pinned and high-centred. Ripperoni, they can't get away from there. Polymorph is going to activate the pit, and surely Ripperoni are not very long for LEGO Wars Series 6. 3 or 4 attempts at knocking the pit button. It still hasn't happened. Ripperoni are stuck on the pit, but it doesn't matter. They're being counted down and counted out. Polymorph finally gets it, and
6.
down the pit go Ripperoni. Polymorph, against all odds, go through to the quarterfinals. Were we simply not familiar with Polymorph's game because they are on an absolute tear through the bracket? Suddenly they've come alive and are performing completely way out of their operating window that we expected from them. They knocked the wheel there off of Ripperoni. Ripperoni immobilised and beaten on the spot. Down the pit, Polymorph through to the top 8.
Polymorph delivers another impressive display in the bracket to be the first robot to remove Rip's big wheel, leading them to bounce out of the competition, leaving just one spot left to decide tonight. So far, 3 former series champs and an international winner have fallen tonight, so the pressure is on Slammo to stay in the hunt to defend their crown against the wall that is Iron Mingo. So let's see who will be completing our grand final lineup.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
The final fight of the night, and one more place in the round of 8 to be decided. Iron Mingo, the 12, taking on Slammo, the 29. Of course, Slammo, the reigning champions, had to force their way through the play-ins. They made their way through that. They then had to go and beat Whitehole via split decision, of course, 2 weeks ago. And now Iron Mingo in the ascendancy against Slammo. Once again, they're boxing Slammo into the corner. It's a great start from Iron Mingo. They've done a brilliant series this time around. An awkward beast that it is to fight. Fortunate may be that they made it past Clodomizer last time around, but they're doing a brilliant job of making the most of the opportunity here, taking on Slammo. Slammo goes for the pit button, hits the pit button, and down it goes. Iron Mingo now boxes Slammo into the corner and forces it towards the screws. What can Slammo do? They need to get out of there. They're being over and over again. They're being hit, though, by the hammer saw of Iron Mingo. Iron Mingo tries to get in underneath once again and does so. The ground game of Iron Mingo certainly seems superior to that of Slammo, and Slammo at the moment, the reigning champions, in all kinds of bother here because they're not really able to get in underneath and execute the strategy that they want to do. Iron Mingo, however, they are doing their job perfectly. They're pinning Slammo against the arena wall. They're bringing the weapon down and causing damage. And so far, you'd have to say Iron Mingo are the ones in the ascendancy. Slammo. I thought for a second there. Had a little bit of a moment, but they're okay again now. Iron Mingo, that weapon has caused damage, certainly to Slammo, but in underneath, once again, it's the ground game of Iron Mingo that's been the main weapon, hasn't it? The Paradox Avian, using those long protruding forks at the front to get in underneath and prevent Slammo from doing exactly what they're doing now. They get round to the side and try and bring the lifters up, and can they leave Iron Mingo over? No, it can't. Not quite anyway. Iron Mingo chases down again. Slammo tries to go round to the sides. What can the reigning champions do here? They are definitely behind the proverbial 8 ball at the moment. And Iron Mingo in the ascendancy and bringing that weapon down into play once again. A good lift from Iron Mingo, well, on Iron Mingo by Slammo, but doesn't quite manage to get it up and over completely. Iron Mingo's weapon now permanently forward. We know there was some issues perhaps with the weapon motor, or the arm actuation motor, certainly, of Iron Mingo. No problems with the power for the weapon itself. So maybe Iron Mingo not at its happiest, certainly in the weapon department, but it's certainly doing a brilliant job in the control and driving department here. And Slammo in all kinds of trouble. They're still not really able to get in underneath and cause any issues for Iron Mingo. The reigning champions here, definitely on the backward step, and Iron Mingo have dominated this fight. And they're taking it to time between the two. Slammo, can they get Iron Mingo down the pit? I think that's their only hope of continuing in LEGO Wars Series 6. I don't think they've got it anymore. Look, you can see the Iron Mingo weapon struggling at the end. We got a time between the two, but Iron Mingo put an absolute masterclass in this fight. I think the Slammo reign of LEGO Wars champion has ended here in a pretty dominant fight for Iron Mingo. The bulk and the size and the general awkwardness of the Paradox machine was on evidence for all to see. Iron Mingo executed their strategy perfectly. Slammo had a few opportunities, but not many to get there, lifting forks in underneath to try and turn their opponents over, but Iron Mingo were the ones dominating the fight throughout.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Iron Mingo. Slamo's title charge comes to an end as the sheer size of Iron Mingo was too much for the now fallen champs, as for the third series in succession the defending winners have not made it to the grand final. It's been a brutal night of action between the heavy amount of JDs and the seeds falling by the wayside, leaving us with an unlikely list for the final 8. The upstart rookies that have slain multiple champions and veterans alike en route to the finals with relative ease. The consistent grabber, ever the bridesmaid, that has finally returned to the summit for a chance to be LEGO Wars' first external main series winner. The pint-sized Axbot that's angrily bullied its way through the tournament to stake its case as the new top dog of the Hammer contingent. The seemingly unstoppable Hammersaw wall that's corralled its foes into submission, sending paradoxical shockwaves throughout the series. The fallen 4-bar that's regained its title in a dogged display, aiming to bow out of the series with a title. The Swiss Army nightmare that's gone from seemingly cursing its opponents in the heat to back-to-back dominance in the bracket, singling them out as a surprise favourite. The stealthy hedgehog that through guile, solid driving and heavy damage potential has kept itself in the fight to the final rounds. And last, but by no means least, the once golden child that's shaken off the technical difficulties of the past to finally make good on its potential to bring home the crown. Despite being a surprise lineup, all 8 of our challengers have earned the right to be here, but only one of them can be the LEGO Wars Series 6 champions, so join us next time when we'll crown ourselves a new winner.
Well,
I hate judges'